Today we want to review the safety of crossbows. They are becoming much more popular in the Midwest for hunting, legal in many of the states, or after a certain age. But more importantly, we need to consider the safety of these devices, as these arrows can fly more than 100 yards with deadly force. Now when you're looking for a crossbow to buy, one thing you want to consider are the safety mechanisms. Now for illustration today, I have already pre-cocked this crossbow. When hunting, you want to make sure that you cock this before getting into your stand. If you're in a tree stand or a self-climber, you're going to pull it up. You don't want to be cocking it up in your stand. If you're still hunting, of course, that's a different story. But when we're looking for a crossbow, we need to consider safety. And even if it costs you a few $100s more, you want to buy whatever safety mechanisms you can find in a crossbow. And the first thing that we see is when we cock this crossbow here, it comes back here, it automatically sets your safety. You always want to double check this. Many bows do not come with this. So this is a good safety mechanism designed in. Another mechanism that is designed in is the anti-dry fire mechanism, which is right here. And what you don't want to do is have a bow dry fire. You have all this kinetic energy in the limb being transferred into the string to your arrow. No arrow, and if you've got a bow that can dry fire, all that kinetic energy goes back into your limbs, and that can cause severe damage to these limbs. Now how this safety mechanism works, you slide an arrow in, and you can watch how it will bring this lever down, now allowing this bow to shoot. So again, a real good safety feature that can avoid serious damage to an individual or to your bow. Now for this illustration, we're going to use the term arrows for these arrows instead of bolts. The third safety mechanism designed in this is the grip safety right under here. Now the grip safeties, these can be set up right-handed or left-handed. There's a button on both sides, and once you take this safety off and you put it in the red zone, you cannot fire it unless you can press on this button here. Then it will allow you to pull the trigger. Another advantage of this is it helps keep your fingers under the travel path of the string. You want to always avoid from putting your fingers or your hands in the travel path of this string and going down this rail. Now these wings here help keep your fingers under this travel corridor or this string path. By having your fingers in there, it can take your finger off. It will definitely peel you down to the bone. The other thing you do not want to do, once it's cocked, you do not want to put your hand in here and carry this by the rail. Again, the same thing. I know you got all these safety mechanisms. Never take the chance of safety. You always want to return home to your family and your friends in the same condition you went out, and there's no sense in taking that chance. The next safety mechanism that I say is safe is the cocking mechanism. If you try to cock this by your fingers, using your arms and your back, that's a lot of force that you're pulling up there. You can hurt your fingers, you can definitely hurt your back. You don't want to do that. You want to use a cocking device, whether it's a rope or this. I prefer this mechanism. It's well worth the price. The other advantage of this mechanism is when it comes and you pull it over and you hook it to your string, it hooks the string equally on both sides. When you're pulling this string up to lock it in, you do not want to have an unbalanced or an uneven lock. That will cause inaccuracy in your arrow, and you'll wonder, why did my arrow fly off to the right or left? Now, it's difficult to do in a crossbow, but it can be done. So the best thing to do, make sure you get one of these cocking devices installed. Well worth the money there also. Now before going out hunting, what you want to do is you want to take your arrows and you want to check your arrows over. I got carbon arrows here. You can use aluminum if it's designed for your bow. So make sure your arrows are designed for the bow you're using. One thing to look for if you're using aluminum, any soft marks, any cuts, any abrasions, do not use that. There's a lot of kinetic energy going down that arrow, and you do not want to take the chance there. On these graphite arrows, you're looking for any fibers, cracks, any damage whatsoever. You're also looking for any holes or anything in the fletchings, and you're looking for any damage that could occur in the knots. So if there's any cracking, any abrasion or anything, don't take the risk. I know the arrows are not cheap. Don't use that arrow. Also, before going out hunting, you want to verify that every bolt in the assembly of this crossbow is tight. I have found that these will loosen up over time. Again, not safe. Make sure everything is tight and assembled correctly. You also may want to add a carrying strap, as I have here, When you carry this on your back, do not place an arrow into your guide here. Again, it's an unsafe practice for handling. You do have all these safety mechanisms in place, but again, avoid any risk that you can. So always leave a slot in your quiver so that you can put your arrow in there and then take it out once you're seated and ready to hunt. When handling your crossbow, never point at someone, whether it's cocked, loaded, or unloaded. Safety tip, you do not point any weapon at any human being. When you're using any weapon, a gun, a crossbow, whatever it is, the last thing you want to do is point that weapon at anything that you cannot determine what that target is. If you hear the brush cracking, something coming up the trail, do not pull that weapon up and aim where you believe that animal is going to be. You hold that weapon in a safe position, maintain the safety, and you wait until you can see the eyes of that animal and you can 100% determine what that animal is, and that is your target. Too many times hunters have been shot because another hunter heard something coming in the brush. I've had multiple hunters come through where I was sure it was a deer coming up the trail. I knew nobody else was on the property and had a hunter walk out. So safety first. It's not worth it. If they hear the safety ear click and the deer runs away, just be glad you had the time to be out in the woods and experience the experience. One handling tip that a lot of hunters aren't aware of is when you seat your arrow here, yes, you have the anti-dry mechanism, you have the automatic safety lock, you have the grip safety on, you have the 3.5 pound pull trigger. But as you're hanging your bow in the tree and you think something's coming, you pick it up and then you put it back down, you pick it up. This arrow will have a tendency to walk on you a little bit. So now it's not completely seated. So every time you grab your bow and you're preparing to shoot at your target, take the extra second, take your arrow and make sure it's seated all the way down. You do not want that arrow half an inch away. You want it all the way seated back. This arrow I have found on me has walked many times as I'm taking it off the hook. Maybe I hit a branch or something, but for some reason I've caught that arrow a little bit and it has walked up. It will not walk up on its own, so it's got to hit something. But never take that chance. You get into the habit and you don't even realize it. You pick your bow up, make sure your arrow's seated, you take your safety off, you pull up and aim, and you squeeze your grip safety button and you fire. You want to check all your limbs to make sure there's no cracks occurring. Again, check all the bolts. I have found these two bolts will come loose over time. Make sure they're tight every time you're going out. Takes a quick Allen wrench, you can verify that. And when you're shooting, make sure there's no branches in your tree stand or where you're still hunting, that when this fires, these limbs are going to hit a branch. You don't want to take that chance either. It could do weird things to your arrow. It could also shatter your limbs. So a lot of common sense. Just don't take the chance. Be safe and enjoy hunting. Another safety tip, in your quiver here, make sure all the arrows are seated tightly inside your quiver and all the way up into the quiver here. You don't want an arrow falling out or the end coming out. Again, that can drop. Even a drop of 3 feet that goes down into your boot, or if you're wearing tennis shoes, as some people do, and cause an injury. So you do not want to take that risk either. When walking with this bow, do not carry it when it's cocked by the rail. Do not stick your hand into where the string area is. You do not want to be holding it by the trigger mechanism. The strap, make sure that these bolts are always tight. As you're walking and carrying this on your back, these will loosen up. The last thing you want to do is grab your bow with an arrow in it by the strap and have that strap come loose and drop your bow down. When raising your bow up and down in the stand, never have an arrow in it. You don't want to take that chance. You want to tie, preferably, to the rear end of the bow, having your crossbow pointing to the ground always, and bringing that up to you and dropping that down from your stand. Another thing you do not want to do when you're practicing, even with a practice arrow, and you're shooting with a partner, do not have that partner standing beside you in a crossbow. The thing that could happen here that you want to avoid is this string could break for some reason. If that string breaks, things are not going to go out straight. Things are going to go sideways on you. So it could cause something to fly sideways, hitting your partner, cause an injury there too. So always have a partner standing back behind you a foot or two and away to the right or the left. I hope these safety tips and handling tips help you be safe in the field. The last thing we want is a fellow hunter getting injured in any way.